Hey everybody, my name is Gerry Gavin. I'm from Visiting Physician Services. We are the house call doctors who take care of seniors when they're no longer able to get to their primary care doctors. And I think you may have actually heard some programming from our service before. Today, I'm actually not here to talk about visiting physicians. Michelle O'Shaughnessy, who is from the director of the Office on Aging, asked if I could kind of go back to my skills from previous employment and talk to you guys today about remote patient care, or basically what's known as emergency alert systems. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So for those of you who might not know what that means, emergency alert systems is a way that somebody who is living on their own or who might have a physical condition that might make it kind of dangerous if they're out and about and they need to have immediate assistance if something happens. It's a way for them to be able to get in contact with emergency services as quickly as possible. And it may also be a way to get in touch with a family member and other things too. But today what we're going to talk about is how some of those different systems work, some of the costs of those different systems, and what they're basically used for, how you can kind of decide which system might be best for you. So today I brought a whole bunch of different things that might help us to be able to describe those different systems. And they start out from the most basic system. So if we look at this one right here, this is a very basic emergency alert system, and this is one that's used in the home. So when you live in a house and you have a landline, I know there's not many people anymore who do have landlines, but if you do, and this is something that you want to have something for just when you're in the house, this might be a unit that would work for you, because what happens is it plugs into your landline, plugs into the wall, and then you have options as to how you can actually be able to talk to emergency services when that would happen. So there's a speaker that's built in here. It's a very, very loud speaker. If you're nearby, you have the option of actually pushing the help button, and normally within a matter of, say, 30 to 60 seconds, someone from an emergency alert system will respond. And what that means is there's actually operators at emergency alert systems, and your information will come right up. So there's a screen that's going to come up. Let's say your name is Josephine. The person will respond and say, "Hi, Josephine, this is so-and-so from the alert company. What's your emergency? Is everything okay?" And you can tell them what's going on. There's a built-in microphone also in this box so that you can talk back and forth. Now, let's say you're not right near there. They make some things that you can wear around your neck that has a button that will activate the same speaker system, or there's even this little watch kind of thing that you can wear as well. And both of those kind of work pretty well to be able to alert emergency response too. But again, this is for if you've got a landline telephone, and if you're in generally a smaller space. So if you're in a smaller apartment where you're going to be able to hear this from different rooms, this might be a great option for you. And it's usually one of the less expensive options. Most of these systems I'm going to be talking about may run somewhere in the area of like $19 a month, upwards of $30 to $40 a month. It depends on the number of features that the system has. So this is the least expensive system. Again, it's good if you're in a small space, but not necessarily if you live in a bigger location, and certainly not if you don't have a landline. If you have cellular service and you don't have a landline, then you're probably going to go to something like this type of a unit. What's great about this is kind of its own cell phone. It has its own cell phone number, so that when a phone call comes into an emergency alert center, it does the same thing. It identifies them by your phone, by this phone number, which is tied into all of your emergency information. So that similar situation, it's got a built-in speaker. All you do, it's a super easy install. You just plug it in and it automatically kind of sets up itself. But you have the ability, again, to hit the emergency button that's right on here. Nothing's plugged in, so you're not getting to see the lights. But that would do an emergency contact. Or similarly, you have the ability to use a watch like this, or you have the ability to use a pendant like this. So if you want to use the pendant, you have the chance to use the pendant, or you would have the opportunity to use the watch. And that is something that really kind of helps as well. A lot of times as well, for guys, this is a much more comfortable type of a situation because men don't necessarily like to wear the pendants, but they're very comfortable with wearing the watch unit. So this is one of the things, if you're looking for something for your dad, it may be something that you want to get something similar to this watch unit. I want to talk about these two pendants that are right here. These are a little bit bigger. Let me kind of make sure I hold them over to the right camera. So these are a little bit bigger. You might notice from the other pendants. And the reason why these are a little bit bigger is these have a little more technology that's built into them. And these are actually for fall detection. So what will happen is built into these pendants, um, there's basically a weight system or a balance system that also indicates impact. And so when that takes place, it will indicate for the system if there was a fall that took place. So it's a wonderful idea to have. I'm going to be really honest. There is no perfect fall detection device. So these are as good as fall detection devices can be, the ones that are worn around the neck, because generally if you fall, you need to have a certain amount of momentum before that detection device is going to notice it and set something off. There are some fall detection things that are in your wristbands that might be able to do it, but it's harder for that to indicate it if it's a small distance. If I fell from my seat here at the table, it's a pretty small distance, but this is going to rock around and it's going to notice that something happens. So if you're looking to get something that has fall detection for a family member, I would recommend that you would look for something worn around the neck as opposed to something on the wrist. That being said, my girlfriend has an Apple Watch, which the other day when she took a fall did go off, and it did notice right away and talked to her immediately. And Siri asked, "Did you fall down?" So those kind of things work. And that is another option, by the way. If you have a smartwatch like an Apple Watch or a Google Watch, some of them also have a special button that you can hit in an emergency, as well as it has the fall detection feature. The main difference is in that situation, if something happens to you, it's not going to call an emergency alert center. It's going to go directly to the 911 service that's closest to you. And that is a different sort of thing. And I'll explain towards the end why it's good to have a detection center and the kinds of things that they can help with that is different from just if 911 comes. So what we move then to is for people who are more mobile. So if you're more mobile and you're going out and you're driving, let's say, or you're still doing things, you may want devices that are going to help you. And so the next couple of devices I'm going to show you are things that are actually GPS enabled. So that means that you can actually find these devices and they can be located by utilizing the GPS that's inside of it. So let me show you this one first. This device, basically, and you're going to see these are sitting in chargers because they have the ability to be charged. Generally, they will charge within a period of an hour, and that charge will generally last with a couple of days, right? So the GPS will draw down a charge a whole lot faster, but it's a really important thing to have because what happens is with the GPS, you have the opportunity to be able to find somebody. If you have a relative or a loved one that you're taking care of that's dealing with some form of dementia or Alzheimer's, and you're trying to figure out, how better to take care of them, that might be a really good thing to have then, because now you know a way that you could track them if they're wandering or anything like that. So it's a good kind of a starter to know that you can find them. So this device right here, as I mentioned, you have it. You can actually wear this around your neck. It's a little bit big, so it's something that people might not want to wear, but you can then, of course, pair this with this same type of necklace that we mentioned in the other thing. Same type of situation. You could have this in your purse, and at that point also be wearing this. The speaker is built right in this little unit. So if something were to happen to you and you wind up having to you take a fall and you press the button, you're going to hear the sound coming out of the speaker. Again, it's pretty loud. You're able to communicate with whoever is here and let them know where you're located or what's going on in that given situation. It's really a lifesaver when you're out having the GPS because sometimes there are situations that will occur and you're away from home, so you have no way of letting somebody know that there's an emergency that's taken place. And this is a great way to be able to find people. There's also, by the way, for caregivers, there are apps that are available for these kinds of programs that actually help you even to track someone when they're out. So you would know what happened and where they were, and just a better way to kind of be able to keep track of people. So that's one of the things. Again, I want to mention something with this one that would really be good for men. Again, a lot of guys don't like wearing the pendant. So in this given situation, this particular one actually comes with a strap that can go on the belt, and they can slip it right into there, hook it onto their belt, and then they could go ahead and use the watch unit. And with the watch unit, same sort of situation. Now it's on their belt. They can press the button on their watch. They can hear the speaker coming over on their belt and have a conversation with whoever they're trying to reach in that given point in time. So it works really, really well to be able to use that type of a thing. This is a different GPS unit, and this one is actually one of kind of the state-of-the-art GPS units. It's one of the strongest ones and able to do tracking, but this one also has fall detection. So we mentioned about the pros and cons of fall detection, but I wanted to just take an opportunity to show you this one. This one, basically, if you fall, you need to wear it around your neck. It will indicate if there's some type of a fall that took place, and then that will create an alert that will tell the company if a fall took place, and they'll be able to reach out to you to find out. This particular unit, actually both of these units, work via telephone lines. So they're going to work by either AT&T or Verizon. They're the two biggest carriers who will handle signals for these given situations. So what's really important, one of the things that you want to know is that when you go to get a unit, you want to try to figure out where the service is better. Again, if you're a caregiver and you're taking care of a family member, that's something you might be able to find out. If you know what has the strongest service in an area, try to make sure when you get a device that you ask to have it hooked up to that particular network. I know when I worked in this role before, I had a retirement community that was in upstate New York that we had so many problems with false reads, and we realized it was because they had a stronger Verizon signal than an AT&T signal. So we were able to just switch that around, and it got taken care of really quickly. That's the basics of the equipment. I wanted to just add something about, as I mentioned, why you would want to have a service who's responding to your call as opposed to a 911 direct call. Sometimes when you have a device like this, there are times you could set it off accidentally, right? You may be cleaning the house and wearing your fall pendant thing, and it keeps hitting the counter or the sink, and all of a sudden now you have that going off as a 911 call, and the next thing you know, there is an ambulance and a police car coming to your house. One of the reasons you don't want to have that happen is if you have a call center, the first thing that will happen with a call center is the call center will call you. They have a phone number on record, which is your phone number. So it might be your cell phone, it might be your house phone, whatever it is. And when you pick up the phone, they'll say to you, "Hi, I'm calling from the call center. Did you push your button? Is everything okay?" When that takes place, then you're able to explain if it was meant to be or if it wasn't meant to be. If it was meant to be, now you have a call operator on the phone, and you're able to tell them whatever's going on and whatever is your emergency in that case. They can then communicate that information directly to 911. Most of the emergency call centers also have inside lines to emergency services within the call center. So they're not calling in and waiting for stuff to go in. Stuff is coming directly in because they realize that's an emergency call. And when you sign up for that service, you're going to fill out a form that has all of your emergency situations, what conditions you might have, if there's any particular medications that you're taking. Most of the companies will also give you a form that you can put right up on your refrigerator. So if EMT people come in, they're able to get that information and take care of you in the best possible way that they can. Sometimes it may also be a situation where a person calls up and maybe they're having a panic attack, or maybe something else is going on, and they notice that just in the course of the conversation with the emergency person, they've calmed themselves down and things are going a little bit better. The emergency personnel are generally trained as EMT reception people. So that's probably not the right term. That's probably EMT technicians. So they know about answering the telephone and being able to try to get all the necessary information that they can get that then going to be able to relay to the EMT. They stay on the telephone line also until that time that emergency personnel arrive and they're able to then get off the phone. So you have somebody talking to you the whole time, whether they're talking to you through one of the boxes in your house or they're talking to you on the mobile device that you might have on you during that point in time. One other thing that is really great, and it's not a prop that I have that I can show you today, but many of the emergency alert companies, and when you call them, definitely ask for this. Many of the emergency alert companies offer a lockbox. Now, if any of you have ever gone to see a house, if you've been buying a house or doing whatever, you may have seen these little boxes that go around the doorknob in a house. And then when the real estate agent wants to let you in, they'll put in a combination and take out a key to open the door. Many will come with a free lockbox that they'll offer you, which can go on a door in your house, go over a door in your house, and that way when emergency personnel come in, the emergency alert person is able to say, they have a lockbox, it's on the back door, this is the code. And you don't have emergency personnel breaking in your door in order to come in to be able to help you. That emergency personnel love because they just have that access to get in so easily, and it stops them from having difficulties. That just really helps out a lot. It's never a code that's shared with anybody else. You have the ability to change it on a regular basis if you want to. But it's just a great extra added convenience. Also, if you forgot your key, it's just a nice thing for that as well. You have that extra convenience of having that lockbox. So one of the things I would recommend is if you're talking to an alert device company, ask them, does the service come with a free lockbox? And make that one of your criteria because it's a really good thing to be able to have. So you know then that that dispatch service has the lockbox, they have the way for emergency personnel to get in easily. They're able to have your medical records right there, up on the refrigerator because they'll give you forms for that. And they understand a lot about you. When you're wearing, by the way, the mobile devices, the GPS devices, they're actually going to come up on a map on that person's screen and they'll be able to say, I am seeing you at such and such a location. Is that where you're at? Are you in a park by so-and-so? It's also really good when you fill out the forms if you're still driving and you have a mobile GPS device. One of the things they'll ask you on the forms is what is your license plate number? Because there are situations, I know when I worked for the other company, where somebody might have been having a heart attack or something might have been happening and they were in their car in a parking lot or they had to pull over. And by looking at the form and knowing they were in a car, emergency alert people were able to say, look for this type of car, blue sedan with this license plate number, and we were able to get emergency personnel there much faster. You can see now why it's so much more of an advantage to have a service you're talking to than just the 911 call, because none of that information is going to come up. And by the way, if you fall or something happens where that alert is set off, or you push the button and nobody answers the telephone or nobody responds to say that it was a false alarm, automatically emergency technicians are going to be deployed. So they're going to come out to make sure that you're okay and that everything is fine. So that's the general assessment of emergency alert devices. One thing I did want to tell you, these little devices right here, the little necklace ones, great part about this is I have known so many seniors who go to arts and crafts classes and they just bling these little things out. They put all kinds of stones on them and do stuff. They still work perfectly, but they become a really nice little piece of jewelry. And some services even have them already made so that they look like jewelry. Some have watches that are actual watches that have red buttons on them for deploying emergency alert systems too. So that's something to kind of look around for as well and see what kinds of things are out there that you might like. So everything in terms of emergency alert devices, I think we might have covered that well. I talked about cost before, and cost is generally, as I said, between $19 and $40, averaging somewhere in that range between $30 and $40. It might be a little bit more when you're going the top of the line with fall detection and other things for that, but that's generally what that monthly cost could be. What's very interesting, though, a lot of people who are out there who are listening to this, you might now have what they call Medicare Advantage plans. A lot of the Medicare Advantage plans will pay for these devices. So if you're thinking of getting one of the first calls I would tell you to make is if you have a Medicare Advantage plan, if it's Aetna, United Healthcare, whatever that plan might be, call your Medicare Advantage plan and find out first, would they pay for that service? Medicaid will pay for emergency alert devices. So you can find that out as well. And you can find out from the provider who they might have a relationship with. So the insurance provider may already have a company that they're dealing with and who's giving them great deals on stuff. So you want to talk to them and find out what might be available. So you could potentially get this for free either through Medicare or Medicaid. There's also other state programs like the JACK program or the statewide respite program that also may have grant money to pay for devices. So check that out too. And there are some counties that have that opportunity too. But if the county doesn't, there are these other programs through Medicare or Medicaid or other options that might be available. And you definitely would like to check those out before you go ahead and sign a contract to get one. Otherwise, generally what happens is you're going to sign up. You could do a year and you can pay in advance for a year, or you can do month to month. And if you do that, you can cancel them at any time. So be aware of that. If anybody says you're locked in, you're never locked in. You should make sure you talk to somebody who gives you a month-to-month contract and gives you the ability to get in and out of it whenever you might want to do it. And there are other organizations, for example, if you are a member of AARP or any other senior organization, that also offer discounts. So find out from them about those discounts that they may offer. The one other thing that I did bring with me today, and I'm not sure which is the best camera to look at this with. All right. This is what is called a medication management tray. Now, if you are a loved one and you're worried about a family member who may not be taking their medication correctly, that's something that you want to be able to help them with. This is one of the devices that you might be able to use. It's a very, very cool device because it can be both used for just kind of like an alarm clock to remind people to take their medication at home, but it also can be used remotely with the same systems that are working the alert programs. These same systems can notify family members or notify doctors or notify anyone else if somebody isn't taking their medication. So what will happen is when it's time for you to take a particular dosage of medication, an alarm will go off in the house, and the only way to be able to turn that alarm off is to be able to open or close the door on this device. So I'm not sure if we're able to see that on the camera right now, but it has this little door, and that little door will be able to be opened by the person taking the medicine, and then when they open the door, that shuts off the alarm. If in a certain period of time the person doesn't take that medication, then what's going to happen is that medication alert will be sent to the alert center, and the alert center will then send out an alert to whoever has asked to be notified. That could just be a family member who wants to know if mom or dad's taking the medicine, and they can get a text or they can get a telephone call so they can reach out and make sure that they're taking them. Really, really easy to use for a family member to do this. What happens is the tray top comes off, and there's all these little dividers that medication goes in. It can do up to 4 dosages of medication a day. Usually about 4 pills can fit in there. There are other medication trays that are available that are bigger than this particular one, but this can be a really, really helpful thing, especially if you are a family member who lives out of town and you just don't know how to help your mom and dad with taking medicine. This can be a great option. And it's one that is, again, runs generally in the area of around $30 a month. It's also a wonderful entry point if you have had conversations with your mom or your dad about possibly having home care and they're very resistant to the idea of having anybody come in to do home care. I've worked with a lot of home health agencies who do this as a part of their nursing service. So what will happen is the nurse actually will come out, help them to get their medications all set up. If you do, based on the number of medications you do, this could be For 1 or 2 medications, this could last you a month. If it's more than that, it may be every 2 weeks that they may come out, or maybe they might come out every week. But it's a great way, if you are a caregiver who doesn't live nearby your mom or your dad or your other loved one. I know there's a lot of people taking care of aunts and uncles. This is a great way for you to be able to know how they're doing with their medicine, and also a great way to have a nurse who's stopping in who's able to check on how they're doing. And then they can report back to you. That nurse is also, when there comes the time that the person might need home care, they would be the person who's making those recommendations and helping to take care of them and do different other things. So that's an idea I would just suggest as well. Think about the medication management. If somebody's forgetting to take their pills and you can't get there to set them up, that's a wonderful option. Use the nurse from a home care agency. Or if you can set them up, then you're just able to take care of this and do it. And it will always give them that alarm reminder. And if they don't take it, if it's hooked up to the service, it'll have an opportunity to be able to tell you. So this way, if you're not around, you're taking care of a few things. You can potentially take care of making sure they're taking their medicine, making sure they're safe if they're in an emergency in any way, shape, or form at home, knowing that maybe if there's a fall that you might have in some way been alerted to that. There's all kinds of options that you have in order to take care of them with these emergency alert devices. And when you think about the fact that you're getting these devices for really $1 to $2 to $3 a day, the cost of being able to have the peace of mind that you get by having these devices is really kind of a priceless thing. So that's why I wanted to come here today to talk to you a little bit about those things. How you can find them is very, very easy. You can just go online and Google emergency alert devices. If you do that, I would suggest you maybe even do emergency alert devices in New Jersey or emergency alert devices in your particular county. And you might find companies that deal specifically with those particular areas. When you're doing it, be very careful as you look at the searches up top, because there's a lot of them that will say sponsored right next to it. And that means that all of those companies that are in there have paid to be in those top listings. Now, it doesn't mean that a lot of them aren't good. There's some very, very good ones that are there, and it's perfectly fine to advertise. But there's also other listings that'll come up below that are impartial reviews of what might be the best things that you can get, and it will tell you the costs involved. And then after that, just do your homework, make some phone calls, ask questions about what kind of services are available. There even is a great article if you Google, what should I ask if I'm buying an emergency alert device? And it will tell you some really good questions similar to the ones that we talked to today. Don't forget to ask for the lockbox. It's a very, very important thing. If you are also looking for information in Monmouth County, just go to the Monmouth County Office on Aging, and you can speak to one of the great information and referral people there. They also have a list of all of the different services that are serving Monmouth County. That might be a great way to start out as well, because they've already, worked with a lot of those places. So, it's a good place to go. I hope this information has been really helpful. Again, my name is Gerry Gavin. I'm from Visiting Physician Services. Please, we'd have nothing to do with this, so don't call us for emergency alert devices. This is just information I wanted to be able to bring to you guys today, and we hope that it's going to be really helpful in being able to keep your loved ones healthy and safe and living in the community where they want to be. Thanks, everyone.